on the DTT platform, but you can follow us on all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. My name is Emmanuel Ochadire. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning on the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. I'm Temitope Ajijaloluola, and you know what we do for you on the program? We bring you quality newspaper review, and we give you interactive sections on the interview segment, and then Emmanuel brings you the trends to tell you what's trending in the country. And you can follow us on all our social media pages, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can live stream our shows on YouTube at Western Spring Television, and you can watch us live on Star Times, the DTT platform, channel 190. Thanks for joining us again on the Morning Spring this morning. We'll go on a short break now, and we'll bring you the newspapers after the short break. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to the show, and let's bring you the papers now. We'll start with the Punch newspaper. The banner headline on the Punch newspaper says, May 29 handover. Again, military warns saboteurs, Gowon counsels petitioners. Threats to new president inauguration will be promptly dealt with, says Defense Headquarters. Kiamo knocks on Oyekon for saying Tinubu shouldn't be sworn in before tribunal verdict. That's the banner headline of the Punch newspaper this morning.
I thought we were way past this particular situation and that the military was, on top of this situation. But today, I think today is, just 25 days to the handover, or 26 days to the handover. And we are still having, warnings about threats to the handover on May 29. I think that I'm not saying that the warnings shouldn't keep coming, but if, it's just looking like the military has not yet, been able to conquer this particular situation, really.
Well, away from that story, still talking about the military. Troops kill 14 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. Troops kill 14 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. And below at the bottom strip, 70% Southwest private school teachers unqualified. That's from the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria.
And I'm hoping that on the page 27 of the Punch, we'll have a proper insight into, how the balance is. If the spread, if it's just private, institutions, or if it includes government-owned schools as well. But it's true that there are several unqualified, teachers. You can see private schools just want to employ people. You don't want to know if the person has a background in, teaching or not. But really, 70% is too much of a percentage, to have as unqualified people. And that's why we have half-baked people, students, coming out of schools these days.
It's worrisome, really.
The quality of pupils and students, leaving schools these days, it's quite worrisome.
Well, the red story there on the Punch newspaper says, 25-year-old dredging farm worker drowns in Lagos River. In Sudan, second batch of stranded Nigerians arrives today. Above the nameplate federal roads, federal government pays state 859.7 billion naira in 8 years. Government agencies, military owes electricity firms. Senate and reps raise Buhari's extra budgetary spending to 23.7 trillion naira. That's all on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Well, all right, moving on quickly to the Nation newspaper. The headline says, outburst on inauguration, Onayeko comes under fire. And that the writers say, senior lawyers knock cleric for questioning president-elect's swearing in. And the Defense Headquarters says, nothing will stop May 29 event. Well, we've known that, and we've been hearing that a lot then nothing will stop the May 29 event. And it's good that, members of the public are also aware that everything will be done to stop saboteurs from, tampering
with the process.
Yes, with the process. And just beside our story, accept tribunal verdict, Gowon tells Atiku will be others. Accept tribunal verdict, Gowon tells Atiku will be others. It's time to move on. Gambari advises.
I think we should allow
the
people,
tribunal,
yes, and then exercise their choice to either accept or seek further redress. Yes.
From the higher court. Well, to the bottom of the paper there, we can see the picture of the evacuees. It says Sudan evacuees are experience harrowing. Well, we need not be told that the experience would be, harrowing and would be, so distasteful. And that's on page 28 of the Nation newspaper. It's a good thing, and we are glad that the first batch is here, and we're expecting other batches to arrive today. That's at the bottom strip of the paper, and page 6, NDDC 6 reps approval for 2.28 trillion naira 3-year budget estimate, and that is on page 6. And just below the nameplate, reps condemn disruption of flights by labor, and that is on page 7. Well, the reps were there when these people were agitating
their demands.
Yes, all of their demands, and nothing was, was said. I don't think they made any statement at the time. But the fact that they are disrupting, the flow of things and, the income of the nation, now there is a problem, and they're talking. The reps are supposed to, as much as they make laws, also speak for the people. Yes. And this is what we have when you don't have, great concern for the plights of your people. Then on page 31 there, Osimhen delivers Serie A title to Napoli.
Congratulations to the Nigerian star there.
Yes.
He got a goal yesterday. Although Napoli drew the game, but mathematically now they've won the league. They cannot be caught anymore, regardless of what happens in the coming matches.
All right. All right, we can also see the picture there of the president-elect at Rivers State at the time. And just above the nameplate, Adamawa Rek, others get bail, declaring Binani not wrong. Adamawa Rek, others get bail, declaring Binani not wrong. And that's on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Well, we talked about the fact that there was a laxity, in his capture in the first place, and the fact that he was giving statements out. It was getting to the necessary quarters. How was it getting there and all of that? And now we can see that, even the government, I don't know, seems to have, I don't know why he had to get bail, but the fact that he even, ran or it was not found for about a week is enough to deny him
bail. And
bail.
Insistent that
declaring Binani is not wrong. And so, but we hope that more clarity will be got from this story, and that he would be handled, and face the full course of the law. Very, very important. And to just the story beside that, on page 4, President-elect promises judicial reform, judges' welfare a priority. Judges' welfare.
Yeah, I saw that video yesterday where I was talking about judges being poor, and that's why it's easy to compromise them, and that they were going to make life easy for the judges. So it's difficult for anyone to induce them. Quite a very good statement there. Making the welfare of judges a priority is something that we should begin to look into. They should be remunerated properly to avoid any form of inducement. Although you still have some bad eggs, no matter how comfortable the pay is or other packages are, you still find bad eggs. But at the first instance, let's even do the right thing.
True. And on page 7, how's a case 1 trillion naira loan for federal government? How's a case 1 trillion naira loan for federal government? I'm wondering if this particular 1 trillion naira is part of the 22 trillion naira that was okayed yesterday, the Ways and Means. Yes. And on page 25, 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. Well, the nation has put it, into better perspective here. It's saying private school teachers now, 70% of them in the Southwest are unqualified. And so we have...
People finish their SS3 exams. And why can they employ as teachers spending when they do JAMB or gain admission? You wonder what an SS3, someone who just finished secondary school, would teach.
Yes.
Students.
Well, that's all the stories we have on the Nation newspaper.
All right, let's go on a quick break now. When we'll come back, you get to see the rest of the papers.
Stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
ẹ kú àmójúbà oṣù tuntun oṣù karùn-ún àdúpẹ́ fẹ́lẹ́dùà torí pé ọ̀pọ̀ òjò ló rọ̀ lóṣù tó kọjá àti ilẹ̀ ti fi mu ó wá yẹ kó o lè dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹlẹ́dàá rẹ pé kò jẹ́ kí oṣù tó kọjá ó mú ọ lọ o pẹ̀lú ọkàn ọpẹ́ yìí wá máa fi gbàgbọ́ ṣàmì sí àwọn ìwúre wọ̀nyí o oṣù karùn-ún ló wọ̀ yìí àrùn burúkú kò ní wọlé tọ̀ wá àjáde ìwọlé ò wá ní kàn ọ́ ìkànnì móhùnmáwòrán Western Spring Television ló ń wúre fún ọ wípé iṣẹ́ rẹ yóò lérè lóṣù yìí àní ọmọ aráyé ò ní fi iṣẹ́ rẹ bú ọ ni mò ń wí o nítorí pé aláǹkàn gbìyànjú ṣe po lóòótọ́ àmọ́ kò rí aláṣẹ tí yóò fi ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni àkókò ń gbẹ́ kísà lódó kò rẹ́ni tí ó bá fi gúnyán ni ò ní ṣàṣedànù lóṣù yìí nínú oṣù karùn-ún yìí ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ kò ní nù ọ́ o nítorí pé bí a bá torí àtùpàrẹ́po àáfún mú ni Elédùà yóò fi retí ẹ fún ọ lóṣù yìí wàá.
The Korean War of 1950 to 1953 pitched North and South Korea against each other in response to intrigues by nations beyond their border with different interests from those canvassed by the two brother nations. The Korean War had all the nuances of an external conflict induced by powers that were interested in subjugating North and South Korea. Japan had leveraged on its military power to annex Korea in 1900 and imposed a military union that did not sit well with the citizens. Japan not only lost its war of conquest against Korea, all its powers were up.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's still the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, and we're still on the newspaper review segment. Now we continue with the Daily Trust newspaper, and the banner headline says, May Nigeria never experience war. Sudan returnees pray. And the riders were slept in the open for 8 days. About 3,000 Nigerians still stranded. More aircraft needed for evacuation. That's what the federal government is saying on the face of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And we can see how, several state actors have been telling us that we shouldn't pray for war. And you can hear it firsthand from people who have experienced the war. And then they said they slept in the open for 8 days. And I'm sure that even here in Nigeria, you know what it would mean to sleep, outside in the open for 8 days, and let alone in a place that is war-torn, or after you have experienced such, war. And then, but we are glad that they are here. Some of them are here, and we still need to. They said we should pray. We should pray, and then they are praying that, the 3,000 Nigerians that are still stranded would be, evacuated soon. But moving from that story that is on page 4 of the Daily Trust, and move down to page 3. It says 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. We hope that TRCN would do something fast about this situation so that we can have more qualified teachers in our institutions, in our academic institutions. And on page 22, Taj Bank unveils Osita Iheme, Saratu Daso as brand ambassadors. And on page 25 of the Daily Trust this morning, bride arrested for beating pregnant co-wife to coma over prayer mat. Bride arrested for beating pregnant co-wife to coma over prayer mat. We've been emphasizing the need for people to exercise patience, more and more, instead of resorting to violence on the show. And that's what I'm still saying this morning. That we should learn to cohabit peacefully rather than having, violence everywhere. And to the bottom strip of the paper, Sudan crisis, Hajj fare may rise above 3 million naira as airlines decline signing agreement. It says Hajj fare may rise above 3 million naira as airlines decline signing agreement. People need to be aware of that. And that's on page 30 of the Daily Trust. And the writer said, we'll run at loss with current deal operators. And another writer there says, NACON working out solution. That's according to the chairman. And to just below the nameplate, trafficked Nigerian women in Iraq beg for evacuation. Trafficked Nigerian women in Iraq beg for evacuation. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust. To get more of that story, please check that page. And on page 6, May 29, we're ready for troublemakers. That's according to military. The military is telling people, saboteurs especially, that they are ready for them. And so it's better not to foment trouble in the polity. And on page 6 still, I was forced to marry 3 Boko Haram terrorists. I was forced to marry 3 Boko Haram terrorists. That's according to one of the rescued Chibok girls. Imagine a girl was forced to marry 3 men at a time. 3 Boko Haram terrorists. It must have been a very sad experience, terrible experience for them. But we're glad that 2 more have been rescued. And in the pictures we saw them holding each of them holding a baby. And so you know what that means. More children abuse, more children, are sold there. But that's all we have on the Daily Trust. And moving quickly to the Guardian newspaper. The headline says, study routes to Jagba. Over $4 billion spent in overseas education in 8 years amid poor funding, neglect of public schools. Over $4 billion spent on overseas education in 8 years amid poor funding, neglect of public schools. And that's speaking to the quality of our schools here in Nigeria and the poor funding going into it. And that's why people are probably seeking, study overseas. And it says the $4 billion have been spent on that. Just imagine if we develop our institutions here in Nigeria, the amount of money that would have been, remained in our circulation, and how it would have boosted our economy. But this is a big story that is captured on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. So you can check it out to know, to get more information. So just below that story, apologize, compensate for colonization, Aboriginal style King Charles III. Apologize, compensate for colonization, Aboriginal style King Charles the third. And that's in Panorama, page 2. You can check that out on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Beside that story, fresh hurdles for air cargo as SACO, NACO raise charges by 100%. Fresh hurdles for air cargo as SACO and NACO raise charges by 100%. And that's on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. And on page 27, Tinubu promises to fight corruption, protect judges from vices. Tinubu promises to fight corruption and protect judges from vices. We had the same promise from the current president, the incumbent president, when he was, campaigning in 2015. And then the president-elect is also making a similar promise. We just hope that it's going to make good on this promise this particular time. And we're not going to be having just promises, but we're going to have, full backends, with action. That's on page 27 of The Guardian. And to the last story at the bottom strip, news page 6 says, Reps ignore outrage. Okay, Buhari's 23.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. Reps ignore outrage. Okay, Buhari's 23.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. I just hope we can move past this era of ignoring the concerns of state actors, or the state actors, and we can start putting that into perspective when our reps and our senators want to make some decisions. It's very important not to ignore this, because we are all in it together, and it's all going to impact on all of our lives. And that's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And we can see a statistics of Nigeria's education crisis, and that's saying in numbers. We can see it right there. Let's check the face of the Guardian newspaper to get more of that, more of that, of an insight into how, this amount of money was spent over the years, still talking about schooling abroad and budget allocation to education. Shows a lot of statistics there. But that's all the stories we have on the Guardian newspaper. And that brings us to the end of the newspaper review this morning. Please do well to check the papers to know what's happening around you. And as we always say here, please do well to stay on the right side of the law. And that's all on the newspaper review. We'll take a short break now, and when we get back, we'll, go from here. Program.
happy new month. Welcome to the first edition of Spring Trends on Western Spring Television for this month. We pray that your day begins and your month begins on a very beautiful note, and that you make amends for all your errors, you learn from your mistakes, and become better at whatever it is you do. My name is Emmanuel Ojadegele. Welcome to the show this morning. We'll go straight to business. This time we're starting with the police force. Last week I brought to you one mistake by the public relations officer of the Nigeria Police Force, Muyiwa Adejobi, but unfortunately the man seems to not have a control over his fingers. He's in the news again. Now, what happened yesterday was that he posted a photo of himself and he said that he's a fine man, they respect their women. And another Twitter user commented with the picture of that woman you're seeing there, the woman who was assaulted during the election, and he said, "You love and respect our women, yet no one was arrested." That means after assaulting this woman, Ireo. Now, the public relations officer of the Nigeria Police Force, who should know better, replied that tweet by saying, "Nami Bitam." It doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe you don't know this assertion is my opinion on principle and it's mine. Asking if you are the one who beat a victim of brutality as a police officer is classless, honestly, and it shouldn't be happening. But let's see how Nigerians took him up on that statement. We begin with Salako. Salako says this is an unfortunately insensitive thing to say. Before being a policeman, you are most likely a father, husband, brother, or son. Does it remotely occur to you that this could have been your daughter, wife, sister, or mother? You are the PRO for the Nigerian Police Force, yes, yet you tweet like a thug. This is why your men steal, rob, kill, maim, extort daily, because from the top to the bottom, corruption exists and empathy is void. I would have said you get what's coming for you, but karma is a facade. LP Stolen Mandate V says, public safety officer making such a reckless statement. Nigeria is not ready at all, I swear. These kind of elements are not supposed to be the image maker of the police. Frank Mba can never make such a statement. Education is not a scam, my people. Clifford says, did you just say that at Prince Moyewan? Do you recognize your position in the society? Are you encouraging those who attack innocent civilians to continue in their act? Are you saying it's not your job to protect lives and properties? Are you telling us to defend ourselves and not rely on the police anymore? Answers, please. Kinzal says, no wonder when you see many of the police officers after retirement, they look miserable and cry against the system they supported with their whole chest when they were active police officers. Brighto of Lagos says, now you beat them. To be very honest, all of you in the Nigerian police are all the same. The difference is that some of you wear clean uniforms while the others wear rough ones. Oladapo says, this man is a disgrace to humanity. May what happened to those innocent people during 2023 elections happen to you and your entire family. Posterity will never till eternity be kind to you. Truth Spill says, why are people surprised? Isn't that the same one that went on TV to say M.S. Oluomo was joking after he threatened to kill Igbos during the 18th March governorship election in Lagos? Even after Oluomo carried out the threat, he still has not been arrested. Shaking my head. Alhaji Ogogo says, again, you can get this kind of conduct from a top-ranked police officer because there is no trusted, accountable mechanism for policing in Nigeria. They can do whatever and get away with it. Vector Veloci says, this man tweets like the street urchin and tout he's being paid to bring to justice. PRO of a national body tweeting like a teenager. We need strong institutions for this country to thrive. And the last comment comes from Phoenix Obasler says, even the police PPRO needs a refresher course on public engagement as a public officer. Well, that was Muyiwa Adejobi, who also misfired last week, but misfired this week. Sunday, yesterday. We hope that it's a new month. We hope that he turns a new leaf and that every other person in the Nigeria Police Force turns a new leaf. But away from that story, there is something that's been bothering Nigeria and has been bothering Nigerians, and that's the rise of fraud. Fraud is becoming, internet fraud, to be clear, because there's, other financial crimes, like your favorite politicians who steal money and misappropriate money. But internet fraud is becoming so rampant now, particularly amongst the young people. And that's where it's troublesome, particularly amongst those who are not even up to 18. And I'll show you why this is troublesome. Yesterday, a Twitter user by the name, or over the weekend, a Twitter user by the name Shongo Lukosho says, showed us that an SS1 student bought a Lexus vehicle and took that car to his school. Now, the guy was wondering, what would the principal do? I'm sure the principal doesn't even have one of this new generation cars. Well, let's look at that video and how his classmates celebrated him. I'm speechless. That's an SS1 student. Did you see the camera pan? Let's take the video without the sound now. Can you see the camera panning to show you the kind of car that the principal drives, and then trying to zoom in on it and then bringing it back to the sweet car that this SS1 student bought and brought to school? And you begin to wonder, where are our values? What do we value in this society? I remember growing up that my mother, if you as much as brought a pencil that she did not buy for you home, you have to explain how you got that pencil. But I'm sure that this kid will not park this car down the street. He'll definitely take it home. I mean, his face is everywhere on TikTok. And we don't even care again. This is not about how the principal will feel or the teachers. It's about the society. The battle for the soul of this country is multifaceted. And this is one of the issues that we are facing. But let's look at the comments. Yeah, you can see that again. The car, that's the principal's car, one probably a 1998 model. And you see his classmate celebrating and jubilating with him. But let's take the comments now. Let's begin with Busayo. Busayo says, when I was in SS1, I was among the 4 guys in my class that got a bicycle. It took me like a year to save that money. Almost serious problem go dey this our generation. No? Tosi Amuda says, internet fraud in southwest Nigeria is going the way of Mexico with drugs. Not anyway in terms of violence, but the level of acceptability up to the point that protests were led against EFCC and they are now parent associations. Do you remember when some mothers came together and were protesting on behalf of their sons who were arrested by the EFCC for fraud? Now, Josiah says, yesterday my brother in SS2 just blotted out, I need to make money, I want to blow. After managing my shock, I gave him 40 minutes of teaching. I talked, SS2 far. I've been they save money to buy jam and wike, question and answer. You want blow. I mean, while we were in SS2, it was key points. Remember key points? Those short, very thick, short documents that had like number of topics that could possibly come out in your WAEC and your jam. That's what we're struggling to buy then. We're struggling to buy dictionaries, struggling to buy key points, buy past questions. But an SS2 student is talking about blowing. Wow. Now let's move on with the comments. Apostle Jake says, if you check the comment section on TikTok, most comments are more keys. Yes, others are looking up to him and praying. We are sitting on a time bomb and we've been screaming ever since. You can see that. Olamoni says more keys. Shara says real loves. Jonathan Emeka says more keys, amen. I mean, from where did an SS1 student, I mean, look at the school he's attending. Obviously, not even attending a private school where you say, okay, his parents are rich. It looks like, you know, those of us from the trenches. And it's, oh, well, let's continue. Bobby Odogu says, with the current crop of individuals that were recently elected into leadership positions, I wonder how you can convince these ones that crime does not pay. Some shots fired there. Aisha Kishimi says, this is what happens when a society values wealth more than anything. Even questionable wealth are being celebrated. Why won't kids keep joining? TIAE says the official EFCC should embark on some kind of education to secondary schools and educate them on the danger of cybercrime and fraud, punishment, and so on. They may abstain from it. It starts from here usually. So Olukayode Bakri says, no one has called the police. No one has summoned his parents. The parents of the kids jubilating have not gone to the school to take their awards. No alarm raised. Sad. And Big Baby says, I grew up hearing the words, anything I didn't buy for you, don't bring it into my house. Even as at 2 days ago, my dad repeated these words to me, as grown as I am, even a pencil, we are facing a decline and we might never get out of it. Last commentator here, Dara Shobaloju says, this is a skit here. If it's not, this is going to be a problem if not curbed. The problem here is that many of them in this video will believe he's doing the right thing. They would aspire to be him and relegate the importance of hard work and education. Sad. Very sad. Okay, let's get over to Gombe State, where the Gunners are in the news. Joseph Atewe, wherever you are, your people in Gombe are up to it again. Now, this is what happened. Let's take the lead of that story for you. Aliyu tweeted over the weekend that Arsenal fans in Gombe State, Northwest Nigeria, suspended one Ibrahim Terror after accusing him of publicly insulting its players and discouraging supporters. The Dawaki West branch of the Arsenal supporters made this known in a statement directed at the suspended member. Let's take a look at that letter. It was written in Hausa. I don't speak Hausa, but just take a look at it. The picture of the suspended fan is there for anti-party affairs. He was suspended for anti-party activities. It began with Assalamu alaikum, and all of that. From Friday 28th, 2023, that's why suspension, and it will run to 20th May 2023, a month suspension. Look at those who signed: Mozi Datas, acting chairman; Sani Rolex, acting vice chairman; Umaru Henry, acting secretary. All of these three people signed that letter to suspend Ibrahim Terror for anti-club affairs or anti-party activities. So let's look at the comment on that story. Mr. Saif says, misplaced priorities. Izu says, some people are actually sick. They are not bothered about the things happening in Gombe, but us now, Nigerians are actually funny people. Kabiru says, you are highly welcome in Manchester City. You have the right to criticize players because they are receiving good salaries and allowances. Come to Manchester City, my friend, Ibrahim. Abdulkadir Suleiman says, what would you expect from someone named Terror? Of course, he would do anti-party affairs. Shaka Zulu says, anti-party activities, of course. That's what it is. Isia Bello says, this is madness taken too far. This is madness taken too far. The saying says, I'm not sure Ateta is aware of this suspension. He would rather build bridges and unify the party. Sorry, the club. Small God says, sounds like the proper Chelsea thing, because who are you to suspend a fellow fan? The Smiling Roman says, his name is Terror. Should have caught that suspension sooner. And our other commentator here, Mubet, says, the chairman of the union, the vice, and the secretary are all acting. Everybody's on suspension or more times 1,000. But that's how we end the show this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ujadegele. Again, do not let your mistakes define you. It's a new month. Pick yourself up, dust yourself up, take your losses, take your wins, and move ahead with your life. Now, I brought you a story about the fraud, a pandemic hitting really hard. Here is a story of a hardworking man who was found in traffic. I hope that this video inspires you to be the best that you can and to always work hard to legitimately become the person that you want to be. Have a lovely Monday.
What do we have here? Yeah, tell us.
My name is Shamsu.
Okay.
I'm an upcoming artist, songwriter. I do like music a lot, and that's what actually inspired me a lot. Music is all what I want to do my whole life.
So why are you selling water?
It's the hustle. I have to hustle, you know. I have to have money. At least I have to survive first before I do any other thing. So, yeah, that's why I sell water.
Wow.
And at least it's better than working under someone. At least I'm my own boss. So that's why I sell water.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been singing? Like,
I've been singing for a very long time. I've been writing songs. That's what I do. That's what I focus on writing songs. Yeah, but I start uploading a little bit freestyle recently. Yes.
Let's have your freestyle.
Okay. Let me sing this one. Nigeria no get snow, but we get rainbow. It's sunny out here. I wonder how will we catch cold. Yes, I fell in love. Yes, I want you more. Yes, I feel these goosebumps anytime I touch your nose.
Oh, hey, God.
Yeah. Okay, another one. Okay, let me sing another one. Which one? I actually think is I write songs, but I'm bad at freestyle, but I do write songs. Yes.
Okay. No.
Silas Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of two foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and the National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark mustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's still morning spring, but this is the spring trend segment where we tell you who is trending, what is trending, why they're trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. Now, yesterday, a video surfaced on social media, on Twitter. A man speaking in Igbo alleged that the Igbos were left behind in Sudan. It was an allegation, but it was lent some sort of credence by the fact that during the evacuation of Nigerians, Abike Dabirawa, who is the chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, tweeted that people were being sorted out based on their state of origin. That's how they were being sorted into buses. But Nigerians did not take lightly to that video yesterday that surfaced. We can't bring you the video because it's, you know, a different language, and some of the things that were said there weren't quite so. But we can take the reactions for you. We'll begin with sports doctor Odogu, who says that this video is heartbreaking. Nigeria just keeps breaking your heart every day. I knew something was off when Abike Dabiri said Nigerians been evacuated were arranged according to state of origin. Now, Igbos in Sudan were asked to step down and are still left in Sudan at the University of Khartoum. But the plane the others were bought from Egypt belongs to an Igbo man. What is the crime of the Igbos in this country, for God's sake?
Right.
And 99% oppressed is the next commentator.
Guys, how can Abike Dabiri and her useless NIDCOM be selective of which Nigerian to evacuate and which to abandon in Sudan to die? I was informed that no single Igbo person has left Sudan. They asked Igbo traders to rush to the closest university in Khartoum so as to be evacuated by federal government.
Again, these are all just allegations based off on that video. The same way the video emanated last week about the girls, the students who said they were stranded in the desert.
Yeah.
And then Abike Dabirawa replied to that and said that the issue had been resolved and the girls, the students generally, had moved on with their journeys. But El Nathan John says, look, guys, yes, Abike Dabiri is an uncouth political domestic servant, a waste of space who has no business in public office. But she has a boss whose ministry oversees her agency. He's Igbo. His unfortunate name is Geoffrey Onyama. Call it more often. He is just as useless as she is. You can understand the anger coming from Nigerians across the globe, everywhere. Everyone who is watching the shame that is the evacuation in Sudan is really dissatisfied with what is going on. First, the bus is breaking down.
Yeah.
Secondly, the drivers saying that they're not going anywhere because they've not been paid. You know, all of these things are not, we should not be at this point. What should be paramount now is the retrieval, successful retrieval of those people back to the country, make them settle in. And imagine it took the intervention of the president. It took the president of Nigeria calling the president of Egypt before
borders could be
I
open
mean,
to
that should have been
Nigerians.
your first step. Find a way of building some diplomatic bridge so that when the need arises, you just press the right buttons. But this is Nigeria, and this is how the Nigerian factor has been affecting us. We move on from Ogun El Nathan to Ogunna Ejikim.
Right, Abike Dabiri tweeted that asking evacuees for state of origin was to know their destination. Now, few days later, a video has surfaced of a supposed group of Igbos claiming they were abandoned on account of their tribe. Too close to?
This is the danger in doing things like this, because now people can read meanings into.
Yes.
I did not see the need for
Or the state of
asking
origin.
people for their. I mean,
Yes.
what? It was an emergency. People
It shouldn't have been state of origin.
Yes, it has no business with their destination.
You could even say what your destination is.
I mean,
but
someone
state
who
of
is someone
origin,
who is an Hausa person
yes,
could be residing in
living-
Lagos. So
yes.
if I say I'm from Zamfara State, will you take me to Zamfara when my family is in Lagos? It doesn't just make sense. These two things do not come together
add
to
up
form
at
any
all.
at all. They don't add up, and I just hope that we come to a place where we begin to really value lives.
Yes.
Because if we placed value on lives, we would
And
not be
when we
here.
heard the fact that they were being, sorted out by the states of origin, we should have raised alarm at the time, because I wondered why it had to be state of origin. It's quite different from state of residence. That could be
A valid one.
Yes, that could be valid because you just want the buses to go, and they were not coming into the country by buses. They were to be airlifted. And so it's still really, it was baseless, saying state of origin determined how you bought the buses in an emergency situation.
We hope that Abike Dabiri can explain herself someday
out of this
and tell us
situation.
how that
Yes.
she came about that decision. I'll move on to Bat Exterminator announcer who's saying, when Abike Dabiri's NIDCOM government and NEMA Nigeria resorted to grouping Nigerians in Sudan into their state of origin before evacuation, it was obvious they wanted to enforce Buhari's 97% to 5% bias formula. Nigeria has never been this nepotic and divisive under the APC-led regime. I mean, again, when you do certain things, you make it easy for people to read meanings into the things you do. If you make certain statements, I mean, people haven't forgotten Buhari's 97% to 5% bias formula now, and it's being raised again, even when the man is not even directly involved in this. So it's unfair, really, that these things are happening. They should not be happening. They should not be said or heard of, but it is, and the Nigerian government does owe Nigerian people a lot of apologies. They owe them explanations.
Well, I wouldn't agree that Buhari is not directly involved, because when you put people in some positions, they are to be your eyes and ears, and to be you in that capacity. And when you see that something is not working right, you have a right to call them to order. But it never happened, except when you had to be forced, because that's how I put it. You had to be forced to, intervene in the Egypt border crisis situation. You had to make calls, to have their borders open to Nigerians, and so he is really involved. It's all him and nothing else. This administration, they're part of his administration.
So maybe I should have used aware instead of involved.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be involved, it's another thing to be aware of what is going on and exactly how you need to step in to save the situation. So that's backed Exterminator giving that comment there. Fra Sumadina is next.
Abike Dabiri was stated that Nigerians in Sudan are being sorted according to their states of origin during the evacuation process. She deleted the tweet after a backlash from Nigerians who wanted to know the essence of the state of origin profiling in the evacuation.
So
someone is saying she deleted the tweet.
Deleting the tweet speaks to the fact that she understands the gravity. Yes, like it doesn't. it doesn't sit well.
Yes.
In no universe does it make sense.
Yeah.
You're not asking people for their states of origin, their residence, like you said, but state of origin. What does that have to do with me being evacuated? If you want to profile me, you wait till we get to the country at the point of entry.
Yes, at the point of entry, if you're still going to take people to their homes, then you could do that, but definitely not at the point of evacuation. It's, well, I think they never thought that Nigerians would ask constructive questions or would seek insight into all of this. Probably didn't know Nigerians also had a sense of reasoning that is way beyond that of a baby.
Maybe they're trying to infantilize us.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to McDonald now. McDonald says, even when an Igbo man brought out his airplane for free to airlift Nigerians in Sudan, Abike Dabiri still went behind to deny Igbos from entering a bus that would take them to where they will be airlifted. How useless can Abike Dabiri be? Now, another problem we're not seeing is how deeply divided we are as a people. Even if this had no ethnic coloration,
Yes.
the
fact
seeds that have already been sown gives us a very big problem.
Yes.
That's the problem we have now. So everyone is seeing every action through the lens of ethnicity. You take a step, it is scrutinized to be so that people are certain that it's not coming from a place of bigotry. You do something, you say something, everybody's conscious, everybody's careful, and you just can't blame people. It's PTSD, if you ask me.
Yes. Oh, what we heard at the inception of the evacuation was that women and children will be given priority. And that never came out in any of the things they said, except for the fact that you're not profiling them according to their states of origin. That
Which is a big problem.
Yes, it's really a big problem, really.
All right, Tired Nigerian comes next with this comment.
Says, as we they criticize Abike Dabiri, let's also call out her incompetent boss called Jeffrey Onyema. NICAM is under his purview, and he's very terrible at his job.
Oh, the next trend is about Jeffrey Onyema, so we'll come to him shortly. But Ada Ndemili, Ada Jesus says, I call on Nigerian government to make sure they evacuate all the students at University of Khartoum, Sudan. I call against this tribalism APC government and Abike Dabiri are using on evacuation of students. Students from southeastern Nigeria were left behind. Another problem we have is that if narratives like this are allowed to run, even when they are not substantiated, you have a crisis in your hand because you caused it in the first place. By making that gaffe, by making that erroneous move to profile people by their state of origin, you've given whoever it
Credence
is
to whatever.
Exactly. All conspiracy theories as it were now have some sort of credence, some sort of believability, because it is looking like what people think it is. You don't give people that leeway. You have to be intentional.
And it's only a matter of time before we start getting confirmations from these people that experienced it firsthand. And once that happens, you could never wash it off. And we know what that means. Nigeria is already divided on a lot of fronts. And this is wrong.
Very, very wrong. So let's look at the next comment, Mr. Safety.
Safety. Abike Dabiri is a tribal bigot. I pity Jeffrey Onyema, who is just the ceremonial foreign affairs minister. Man is too weak for my liking. He cannot stand his grounds to take some critical actions. Just imagine how the sidelined and abandoned Igbos intentionally in Sudan to die.
Some strong words there. The last comment is Bia Chikuka says, waiting for Abike Dabiri to debunk this allegation of ethnic mistreatment against Igbos. I'm waiting also for her to do that. Videos are circulating online everywhere. Nigeria cannot afford another civil unrest. It's inevitable if the injustices against a particular ethnicity persist. A stitch in time saves 9. I hope that Abike Dabiri is listening and she can do the right thing. But away from Abike now, let's move over to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Last week, I told you that people on social media were asking, where is Jeffrey Onyema? Why is he not talking? Where is he in the midst of all of this? What are his diplomatic moves to ensure the Nigerians are brought back to the safety of the shores of their own country? And some days after that, he went on national television to give interviews. And he spoke about the government, activities. but he wasn't convincing enough for me. As a Minister of Foreign Affairs, he wasn't
He wasn't
giving,
even passionate about it.
yes, it was just laid back.
There should be some sort of passion in what you're saying as a foreign affairs minister. You should have that kind of passion. You
He should not even be in Nigeria at the moment.
Really, you could even go exactly to show. But let's even say you could stay because you have other diplomats out there. But you speak with some level of passion, because this is your jurisdiction, and they're supposed to be your children in this context. You are directly responsible for them. And that was supposed to, but he was just talking, and mostly it felt like he was talking in defense of the government. And well, but you should have been proactive.
Yeah,
really,
very
should
proactive.
have.
So let's take the first comment there. Like Abike, like Onyema, now talking about the dragon. Daisy Awanti or Shabal says, in all of this, where's Geoffrey Onyema, the actual Minister of Foreign Affairs? Abike is a small fish to fry in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
The minister should be getting some smoke.
Really?
He should be getting some smoke.
I was thinking before that I was thinking about all of this and how it took them time to come out and even talk about the possibility that Nigerians could be there. And that's from our own point of view. But they know the statistics already. They have that in their hands. They know that Nigerians were there. But they would have kept quiet if nobody raised any alarm. If those student bodies had not said anything, I don't know if they would have said anything, or if it will be later than now. So it just talks about the fact that you're just occupying a position of office. You don't know what your responsibilities are, or you don't know the gravity of some offices and how you're supposed to be proactive and passionate in the face of some happenings. It's very important to know all of that, and that's why people are talking. Imagine someone is asking, where is he in all of this? We don't have to ask. You're supposed to be abreast, yes, of all of these things.
Okay, so let's move on to the next comment.
Sarah Kimwen says, why una they like staying Geoffrey Onyema white? The guy is as idle as our brother, the health minister, Henry. It is like it is true that your people like to give your incompetent leaders a free pass while dragging leaders of other regions confuse people.
Now it's being a little bit. Okay, so OT the Nembe chief says, where is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema? Is he a mannequin? Is he a mannequin? But the man really needs to speak up more often. There are some ministers we don't even know are still ministers. We digress now. I was reading a statement yesterday, and Pauline Talent came up, and I was like, oh, that's Women Affairs Minister. That's the first time I was hearing her name in months, Pauline Talent. And Sadiq Umar Farouk, Humanitarian Affairs Minister. Zainab Ahmed has been in the news, but there are other ministers, Minister of Police Affairs, Tangadi, so many other ministers you no longer know. It's still, what's his name now? Adigbi Teolamilekon. These are people that they're not really in the news. I'm not saying you should just try to be in the news by all means, but at least let people know that the taxpayers' money is working. So let's look at Ozi Baba Nieto.
Geoffrey Onyema was just a ghost, never seen, never there. If not for Twitter, I wouldn't know that Abike has any link to his office. I always thought Abike Dabiri works directly under Buhari. Man is ballless.
Well, some strong choice of words there for Geoffrey Onyema. Ben Sefa said, truth be told, Geoffrey Onyema is worse than his spare tire. All he did in all this Sudan evacuation debacle was to announce that he spent $1.2 billion to hire bosses. Account office noni. Peter Obi's charisma comes next.
There is no difference between Geoffrey Onyema and Osinbajo. Uselessness at its peak. Their ranks are always tight, but they can't resign. Destroyed any little integrity left in them by themselves because they want to retain a position they are useless at. Well, people are really angry.
Really angry, and it's showing in the choice of words. Well, again, you also haven't seen people resigning in this country, you hardly see people resigning. A case in study was the incessant jailbreaks in 2019, 2020, 2021. One would expect the Minister of Interior to have resigned. But the man said he doesn't see any need for that. And Geoffrey Nyama should, everybody has been, giving her Abike Dabiri a stick, calling her out and all of that. But she has a supervising minister who's Geoffrey Nyama. And he should also take some of the heat. He should get close to the kitchen and take some of the heat. Also, Tired Nigerian again talks about we criticizing Abike and the need to call out Geoffrey Onyama. We'll move on to Ochman 10 for you. Says, with all the vex in my heart, there's still a voice in my head somewhere reminding me that Geoffrey Onyama, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, is Igbo and useless.
Well, truly, if we're to look at things, Abike Dabiri is more in the news or more active on this issue than Geoffrey Onyema himself. Or maybe it's how they zoomed the office to be. She should be the face of, or she should be the spokesperson for both offices, while he remains, well, as somebody put it, ceremonial head.
Ceremonial. Well, maybe we need to reshuffle the cabinet this time. John Emebo is next.
Well, who did this to us? Who is the current Minister of Foreign Affairs? It is H.E. Geoffrey Onyema, an Igbo man from Enugu. Must we always show ignorance of the highest order?
Smart LFC says, I wonder why Geoffrey Onyema, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is not being mentioned or questioned in all of this. Well, that's the essence of this now, calling and, mentioning, questioning him in all of this. Mwadaluchi, your data plug.
For NIDCAM to function, Ministry of Foreign Affairs has to become useless because they both have the same responsibility. Geoffrey Onyema is not Dabiri's boss. Her office rendered his useless. Y'all won't understand because you need to lose your thinking faculty to support APC.
Well, that's another angle to the conversation, considering the fact that so many, this duplication of duties, really, in the Nigerian system. And I just hope eventually that one day all of this is laid to rest and that we're able to do the right thing as and when due. But away from the evacuation in Sudan now, back to Nigeria, something is happening that has got people talking on Twitter. Now, a Twitter user, Abdulaziz Naibi Abubakar, put up a letter that says, reportedly, Alassane Ado Doguwa has officially declared interest for Speaker. I'll read the letter out for you. Letter of intent. My dear colleagues, I'm delighted to congratulate you on your election to the 10th Nigerian National Assembly. The call to leadership is one laced with responsibilities and unalloyed commitment to the Commonwealth of Nigerians. Aspire to Maguire and all of that. Second paragraph says, I want to use this opportunity to communicate my desire to contest for the office of the Speaker of the House. My passion for nation building has fueled my desire to seek this office at this critical time when various divergent views of governance exist in different zones in the nation. Now is the time to align all our interest and trust to work together for the common good of Nigerians. At the same time, discard ethnic, geographical, religious, or political bias that could hinder our collective efforts in this representation. As we look forward to formulating impactful policies for the growth of our nation, I implore us all to bear in mind that all back home will see the result of our stay in the National Assembly. Thus, they need to come together to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. The road to national transformation is not easy, which is why I will use my vast legislative experience and patriotic zeal for all representations within the House of Representatives. Nigeria needs brave leaders whose doggedness can help reduce the myriad of challenges. I'm sure we can achieve this with you on board. Thank you and congratulations again as I look forward to seeing you at the National Assembly. Honorable Alassane Ado Doguwa, Majority Leader, House of Representatives. Interesting.
Very.
What makes it even more interesting is that the man in question is currently on 500 million naira bail. Is allegedly involved in the incineration of 15 people in Kano during the last concluded election. So the question is, why is such a man, who is the majority leader of the House of Representatives?
You know, there's a point there where he said, at the same time, discard ethnic, geographical, religious, or political bias. They should have put moral bias there too. They should discard moral bias to choose him above others in the House.
How do you win? It speaks to the electorates and how we choose our leaders too. How do you elect a man who is accused of killing 15 people? He's not been proven guilty by the court, but that kind of allegation, that kind of scandal is enough to make anybody lose an election in any. I mean, 500 million naira bail. He won his re-election bid. Now he's putting his heart in the ring for speakership. I mean, Nigeria is a place where all things happen. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about it. Michael C. Bernard says someone was accused of murdering Northerners in Kano. Few weeks later, is running for speaker, and the media is saying nothing. The Northern defenders are mute. The fencists are mute. Everyone is mute. No outrage from the Northern translators. Nigeria is not a real place. Because if it were, we will not be having this conversation. Fendi comes next.
15 commoners were murdered. Nigeria and Nigerians have moved on. They are not so different from the others killed by herdsmen on a weekly basis. So what's the fuss about their death? Kindly rewards the hardworking politician with the speakership position so we can move forward.
You can literally touch the sarcasm and anger in that tweet. You know, saying reward the hardworking politician. The hardworking is what took me out, like a really hardworking politician for the speakership. But I mean, again, speaks to the conversation yesterday. The people that we're sending to hold political offices, it's becoming scarier by the day. You have people who have links to terror, people who have links to fraud, people who have links to all manner of legal and moral wrongs representing us at different levels of governance. It's really scary. And it gives some sort of inspiration to those who are doing dirty things, who feel that they can't find a haven in politics. I hope that one day we'll get to that point where that's not the situation. Dr. Kelechi Ugonna says, thank you at Junab for pointing out that this alleged murderer of Northerners in Kano is seeking one of the highest positions in the National Assembly. We are not hypocrites in the core North. The North remembers Dugua will never become speaker.
Okay.
Das Poch is next.
How can an accused murderer and arsonist be applying to become the number 4 citizen in Nigeria?
Then you
Actually, he applied to.
Yes, he's applying.
Letter of intent.
Yes, a letter of intent. I want to be your number 4 citizen. Where is it? You begin to fear for the rule of law in the coming days. I mean, so many. I don't want us to run afoul of the law, but so many things are at stake. And that's why we needed to have gotten it right at the election stage.
Yes.
We needed to have done the right thing, scrutinized all our candidates at all levels, from the state houses of assembly to the governorship position to the National Assembly up to the presidency. Proper scrutiny. But we had governorship candidates who were running from the EFCC, who were running from, investigation. And we have an Akpabio who is linked to the Senate presidency, who's been invited by the EFCC. I mean, these are issues that should bother us as a people, but we're not paying attention.
And just like I earlier said on the show, that in years to come, in some days to come, we're going to start feeling the consequences of some of our decisions. The decisions we made in a haste, or because we are probably blinded by some sort of issues or whatever. Probably because you're related to those people or you're close to them. We're going to know what it meant to have chosen, or what it would have meant to have chosen good people, or the right people for the right offices.
Captain Barbosa comes next, says, this same man was arrested because he was alleged to have murdered 15 persons 15 human beings during the elections. He's now running for the number 4 position in the country, and Iowa is quiet. If it was a Southeasterner now, we no go hear what again. Again, the political and ethnic thing coming in. Abu Abidatu.
With Adsen Barao Jibrin in the race for at SP Nigeria, isn't this a strategic blunder against the fellow Kano man of same artificial APC NG and indeed from same senatorial zone, particularly given Adsen Barao Jibrin very impressive progress in the race?
Another angle to that story, Barao Jibrin is also from Kano, and it's going to be interesting to see. But Kessinga Ben says, look how low we have descended as a nation because we reward impunity. Didn't we reward a mace thief with deputy Senate president position? And now someone charged with multiple murder cases is aspiring to be speaker. Someone who in a sinner climb shouldn't be seen in public. I mean, we all remember how Ovio Magege, deputy Senate president, was linked to the theft of the mace and the resulting melee that happened there in the House, on the floor of the Senate. The same man contested for governor of Delta State on the platform of the APC in the last concluded elections. And it's either we have a short-term memory or we don't just care.
So we decide to just let go.
I think we just, and we let go of the wrong things. Really.
Yes,
we
we'll
let
wipe
go
their
of the
slate
wrong things.
clean by ourselves. They never ask for that. But we just give it to them on a platter. And that's why they think that they are entitled to some of our officers. They should be the one making the laws for it. Because what kind of law would you make when you have such a case hanging on your neck? What kind of law? What would you do? So when they bring somebody who has such a case to you, what judgment would you use?
Would you? Yes.
You just say, oh, forget it. I was forgiven. People moved on. Forgive him too and move on.
We always move on. We always move on. Now let's take Otusa. Who's next?
Okay, this man was caught on video leading thugs that incinerated over 15 people in his constituency in Kano on election day. By law, he's not supposed to be a free man, as murder, nay, mass murder, is not a bailable offense. But he's here running for speaker. Nigeria is a crime scene.
It's the Shakespearean insertion.
Yay,
As murder, nay, mass murder. It's not a bailable offense.
And true, she really made a lot of sense. I mean, some people actually sat down to think these things through and wrote, according. I love
it
the
shows that
writings.
Nigerians are
actually aware of things going on around them, and they have the right knowledge of how things should be. Really, murder is not supposed to be a bailable offense.
Not
But he
to
was
talk
billed
of
by how much?
500 million naira.
God, no.
I mean, he has 500 million naira.
I mean,
to be honest,
no.
That's a whole lot of money. Okay, Oluwakayode the Third King says Nigeria is a playground for criminals. The audacity. It's funny how your sins are forgiven, no matter how grave they are in the APC. Plus, it's also insane to see people act like he didn't do anything. Maybe we deserve those that lead us. After all, just maybe. Just maybe. You never know. Macaulay One comes next.
What exactly is honorable about him? Is this not the same man who instigates violence against his own people and eventually murdered some people? Nigeria is a geographical expression that celebrates mediocrity.
Well, that about sums it up. It sums up the whole conversation. And that's where we leave the conversation this morning. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at something related to another lawmaker who is also in the news. We don't have the time for that today, but it's still relevant tomorrow because Friday, is it Friday now? Tomorrow is Wednesday the 3rd, Thursday the 4th. Yeah, Friday the 5th is when Ekweremadu will be sentenced. Tomorrow we'll be looking at some of the issues surrounding his trial and sentencing. In the meantime, we hope that Nigeria gets better. We hope that we get on the right track and that we get things right. My name is Emmanuel Ojuadigele. Thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Spring this morning on Western Spring Television.
Yes, thank you for joining us on the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. I'm Temitope Ajijola Oluwaola. And until tomorrow, please remember to stay on the good side of the law.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and The People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history.
It's good to enjoy life, or it's good to live life. No matter what you do in this life, chop life, because there's no time to waste time. I've been craving vegetable recently, and pounded yam with some fish and all of that. Oh, my name is Emmanuel Jadigele, Jadigele on Twitter. Welcome to Spring Trends on Western Spring Television, where I tell you who is trending, what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. This morning, we are looking at what's going to happen in the next couple of days. Over the past few days, the internet has been abuzz with news that Ike Ekweremadu was sentenced to 10 years in prison in the United Kingdom for organ trafficking. But the reality, the truth of the matter is that he is yet to be sentenced. So any information you see about that is false. Please disregard that information. Ike Ekweremadu has not been sentenced. So let's see some of the back and forth that happened on social media as regards Ekweremadu's sentencing. The person who started it all was Amadu Garba. He said, if not for weakness of our system and stenches of colonialism, how can a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ekweremadu, serve a jail term in the foreign land? Would America, the UK, or any European country allow that? No matter the offense, he deserves to be repatriated back to Nigeria, face Nigeria court, and be sanctioned by the Nigeria law. I see this as an assault to our sovereignty, laws, and the status of our statehood in the international sphere. But it was immediately tackled by Menzem, who said that the irony of your tweet is just a mere crocodile tears. Considering your hatred against Igbo nation, your Nigeria may be consoling evil. Igbos don't. If the UK found Ike Ekweremadu guilty of an offense, let him go to prison. That's how to build a sane society. And that's how it should be, regardless of status, social standing, or socioeconomic standing. Whoever is guilty of a crime should face the music. Oluomo of Debbie was responding to Indicator, who said this Ike Ekweremadu news I'm seeing like this, so it is well. Now this is the true thing. Senator Ike Ekweremadu will be sentenced on Friday the 5th of May. Any other news is fake news. RP Dr. Chinelo says, hey politician, go home and build standard, well-equipped international hospital. It will save you someday. You have the money. Stop building hotels in Dubai and the USA. Learn from Ike Ekweremadu. Arawa Twitter Connect says, Senator Ike Ekweremadu might be sentenced to 10 years in prison on Friday in the UK. The kind of justice we lack in Nigeria. Well, Valiant Samson Idowu Alaba says, does it mean we will not see Ike Ekweremadu throughout Tinubu's presidency? And also, does it mean the UK didn't treat Obasanjo's clemency letter? Well, there was no way, according to legal experts, that letter by former President Olusegun Obasanjo would have held any sort of water. Chichi says, I hope Oriaku Ike Ekweremadu is getting our own sentencing too. No be by to the dozioku. Tobe says, if we want to play the colonial racism card, we should have some shame not to play it on these elites who kill, steal, intimidate, and brutalize their own people. He was obviously trying to traffic the organ of his fellow countryman. BB says, While I sincerely empathize with the embattled senator, the fact is the law is not a respecter of position in sane society. The senator would, however, might have been able to escape such punitive measures if he had traveled with diplomatic passport, especially if appeals were made in this regard. Odeleke says, if a former president Olusegun Obasanjo is begging the UK to bend her laws to accommodate a reprieve for Ike, you can imagine how Nigerian laws will be consigned to the dustbin if the case is tried here. How many senior government officials of other nations commit crimes in Nigeria? Now that's the real question. Those are the issues. How many of this government, when last did you hear that a foreign diplomat committed a crime in Nigeria and was sentenced to this or was arrested and all of that? You barely hear all of those things. But again, let's move away from Ike Ekweremadu and move over to the woman who has been in the news recently, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, the chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, has just been reappointed by President Muhammadu Buhari for a second term as chairperson of NIDCOM. President Buhari approved her reappointment to serve another term. But let's see how Nigerians took it. It was some mixed conversation really yesterday all over the timeline. Some persons saying congratulations and others just being outrightly annoyed. So let's start with Savol. Savol says, it is only in Nigeria that failures are promoted and successful ones are demoted. Abike Dabiri, your reappointment speaks volume of lack of competent hands in APC government and Buhari great failure. Wike, reverse. Okay, those are just tags. Now let's continue. Let's continue. Next comment there comes from Chris. Chris says, personally, I don't think Abike is incompetent. She works hard. She's just very impulsive and uncouth in communication. Considering what her job requires her to be, her personality is unfit for the weight. Yeah, she's incompetent. Had me in the first half, I'm not gonna lie. Oluwashola says, this is a well-deserved reappointment because she has done so well as chairman of NIDCOM. Congratulations to Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Erewa. Majid says, I think she did well as per key performance indicators. We can argue that her approach and manners could have been better. And Abiodun says, similar to Ole Gunnar giving Harry Maguire the captain band. Harry Maguire just collects everywhere. There's no situation that Harry Maguire doesn't collect. I don't know the young man's offense. Please forgive him. Emeka Nadoze said, aside exhibiting bigotry and tribalism, what did Abike achieve in her first term? Nigeria rewards mediocrity. Olumide Moses Adefenyiti says, the more I learn about Honorable Abike Dabiri, the more impressed I am with her. Her wealth of experience in public service, her empathy for the diaspora, and her unrelenting passion for excellence make her the perfect fit for this role. Congratulations, ma'am. James Uchenna on with this says, a big failure at Muhammadu Buhari rewards an apprentice failure at Abike Dabiri. 2015 shouldn't have happened. It will take a very long time to recover from this. Oguna Roni says, if anything clearly epitomizes the incompetence of Buhari as a president, it is the appointment of this individual. Mr. F, our last commentator, says, congratulations, Auntie Abike at Abike Dabiri. This is a testament to your good works and service to this country. Many more to come. Well, that's that for Abike Dabiri. Well, now let's move over to the Premier League, where the Gunners are back on winning terms. They're back to winning ways after yesterday's demolition of Chelsea 3-1. I mean, it was really, you can see the irony there. Noni Madueke having the scoreline on the back of his shirt. It was quite an impressive performance for Arsenal after some consecutive draws that have allowed Manchester City to catch up with them in the race to the final day of the Premier League. Now let's take the comments on that. Your Shogbo Baba starts the conversation, says, just shut up, please, replying to Arsenal. You couldn't even do it against Manchester City. And the Olori herself immediately replies him saying, when I know if you beat anybody, them good. Them just a flog like thief with steel Maggie. Eagle says, that was the easiest win I've ever seen against Chelsea at the Emirates in a long time. Let's keep winning all these games and keep the pressure on Man City. Hope they slip up. Well, that may be a tall ask. Their laser says it's not over until it's over. Don't let non-Arsenal or non-City fans tell you otherwise. They are all jealous of the great season you've had, even if you finish second. But believe, up the Arsenal. Wesley Kimbade says, Arsenal is going to finish trophyless this season. The earlier you accept this, the better. Ashiwaju of Kwara comes next, says, after failing to get a win in about 5 matches, that has almost cost us the EPL. But what matters is that they are back to winning wins. I don't know why people cannot just take it like that. Lokiman says, only takeaway from this match is Arsenal can't keep a clean sheet. And Michael Olise compliments that comment, saying, exactly, that's one fat hiccup. I would love to see a 3-0, 2-0, 4-0 record moving forward. It's possible we can do it. Up Gunners. BK Avid Sales Mistro says, thank you for the win finally. Clean sheet was possible here, but chances created in total versus converted is not good enough. Improve that conversion rate even by a couple of percentage points and would be really scary to anyone we face. 4 more to go. Build on this for next season. Jake Kwari says, so proud of this Arsenal team tonight to bounce back and get a 3-point in tonight's London derby. Hopefully this is the confidence booster before our trip to Newcastle on Sunday. No matter how this season ends up, I'm so proud of what this Arsenal have achieved. And ESPN comes at us with a fact that says Arsenal are the only team in Europe's top 5 leagues this season to have 4 players with 10+ league goals. You can see these players there: Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, and Martin Odegaard. Larry Ashiwaju Larry, last commentator, says Arsenal beat Chelsea today and their fans are celebrating. Remember, we will still play Man City. That's Chelsea. If they burn you well, come and beg us to beat them for you. Well, interesting build up to the end of the Premier League, and we wish whoever is going to win, we wish the team well. I would love to see Arsenal win for a change, even though I don't support Arsenal. But then, if they've lost the chance, then it's on them to reclaim the chance. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele, EM Ujadigele on Twitter. I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay on the safe side of the law. Remember to enjoy yourself and do not get into trouble. Bye-bye.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions: the whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
All right, welcome to the show this morning, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. But this is the Spring Trends segment where we'll bring you who's trending, what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. And this morning we're starting from Rivers State. Yesterday, President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Rivers State to commission some project, and he had something to say to Wike. Wike is known for, Governor Wike is known for bantering everybody, bantering governors, bantering the Senate, bantering even speakers of assemblies. But yesterday, Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to bring Wike up to speed about his new status. Let's look at that video.
It's another way of building bridges. We cannot be overstated, the need for Nigeria. It is on the strength of your character that I stand to fulfill the promise I made during the campaign to you. I'm happy that we are being able to establish a relationship. I will leave Sanwo-Olu to give you back your banter and response. I am the president-elect. Your president. We know, we know, we know, I see what you know, we know. I say you go with the know. It is a great honor and moment for me. I see all the preparation, the declaration of a public holiday, the banners on poles, the signs all over. I am a very happy man.
In case you missed it there, I will leave Sanwo-Olu to give you your banter. Means that, man, you and I are no longer on that level. You are now on the level of Sanwo-Olu and co. So let's look at the comments there, starting with Maurice Monye Momo this morning, who said that, simply put, me and you are not mates. You're on the same level as Sanwo-Olu. You guys that say there will be a Bat versus Wike fight are funny. A Bat as president will crush Wike mercilessly, and Bat knows. Anyway, let's hope the judiciary saves us from all this upcoming drama. Yelugo says, LOL, Bat is telling Wike, I am your president. No, they call me again. I have used you and I don't need your help again. If you need anything, call my PA, Sanwo-Olu. Emeka Amakeze says, the Wike we used to know would not have tolerated such insult and condescension from anybody, and surely not in his own state. Esteem says, long and short of this clip is Jagaban saying to Wike, Wike, me and you no be mate again. As Sanwo-Olu go to respond to your childish shenanigans from now henceforth. Now me be your president now. The earlier you realize that we're no longer mates, the better for you. Senior man he says, never seen Wike laugh this hard before. Slightly embarrassing because everyone knows the laughter is fake. Dr. Victor Odeozo says, Wike is like that Japanese general who betrays his fellow generals in a war for a new commander. At first, he does everything to demonstrate his allegiance to his new commander, but soon realizes that his new commander can never trust him. Wonke says, bold, focused, and outright presidential. No room for idle talk or exchanging banters. President-elect, I salute you, sir. And Derek says, it appears the marriage between Wike and Tinubu is not going to last. Tinubu already got what he wants. He owes Wike nothing. Sanwo-Olu will still be a governor by May 30, while the rumor will come Sani Abacha will be a one-time this, one-time that, presently nothing. Now, away from that, but still in Rivers, there was still another incident in that particular commission. Tinubu also told Wike that he owes him nothing, and whatever Wike spent on the road that was commissioned, well, he has spent it, He's not going to give him anything. Let's take a look at how Bola Ahmed Tinubu passed that message across to Governor Wike.
I am a very happy man. Happy because I went through a gruesome campaign, fought hard, beat myself, supported by many of you, and I won. Fair and square. comes, I say thank you for your contribution to my victory. I couldn't have done it without some structural support, as not describable in a flyover. He did not choose to serve his own interests, not about him. Rather, the interests of the nation. You promoted unity. You promoted fairness. You championed justice. Thank you.
So now let's go straight to the comments from that video. Let's go straight to Tinubu asking Wike to lobby for anything he needs because he, Tinubu, owes Wike nothing. We'll start with Victor Israel. Victor Israel says Wike demanded a refund for all the money spent in constructing 12 flyovers in Rivers State. Bola Tinubu responded, I owe you nothing. You need to lobby me. Look at the president-elect casually saying on national TV he needs bribe before funds can be released for infrastructure. Deji Taya says, I owe you nothing. You have to lobby me. But that's actually a profound statement, pregnant with meaning. Visionary says, see who Nigerians are expecting to be patriotic and listen to the needs of the people. Man said, you have to lobby me and collect. Abacha's regime will be like child's play once it's done. Momo says, Tinubu turning down Wike on national TV and Wike is using laugh to cover it, then starts scowling almost immediately. So soon? Savian said to the people who are swimming in realism, realistically hoping that Tinubu will be a good president, this is him openly canvassing to be lobbied. Congratulations to you people, cause me, I no follow. Obiemeka says, in politics, pay close attention to body language. It says the truth more than the literal words said. This is not good for Wike. Tinubu basically told him that rigging the election for me was doing yourself a favor. I owe you nothing. And Chimdi Asika says, am I the only one that doesn't see anything funny in this video? All I see are political crooks sharing friendly banters. Like the elder crook requested, the junior crook will lobby him later on. This is politics, guys. Nigerian politics. Dirty Nigerian politics. Maz Lupin in Kenga, last commentator, says, Wike will never know peace. Look at how Tinubu threw him under the bus after he helped him rig election. That's all from Rivers State. Let's move over to still talking about presidency, president-elect, and President Muhammadu Buhari was quoted to have said recently that he has fulfilled his promise of change to Nigerians. Just about 25 days were left for him to be in office, as quoted by Tribune, the Tribune newspaper online there, saying that Buhari said he has fulfilled this promise of change to Nigerians. Now, let's take comments on that. How did Nigerians perceive that statement? Did they take lightly to it? Senator Shehu Sani says, the president is leaving behind 77 trillion naira debt, 133 million poverty-stricken people, 25 million people at risk of hunger according to UNICEF, 10 million out-of-school children, mass killings and kidnappings on a daily basis. Yet he said he has delivered on the change he promised. Chim Skog says, for real, he has fulfilled his promise of change. Now rice is sold for 45k instead of 12k. PMS is sold for 187 to 300 as against 87 naira per litre. Our subsidy remains. Well done, Imposter Buhari, on your achievements. Inibehe Efyong says, we all misunderstood him. When Buhari spoke about change, he meant changing Nigeria for worse. He has delivered on his promise. Bayo says, Buhari said he has fulfilled his promise of change. Why not, Mr. President? You succeeded in turning the third largest economy in Africa in 2015 to something unimaginable worse, and also sent 133 million and more Nigerians into multi-dimensional poverty. Ayaoba says, well, in fairness to him, he didn't say whether it was positive change or negative change. Nigerians only assumed it was positive change. The guy just said change. Sanders Black says, a chronic failure who has taken the country 200 years back could have at least conducted a credible election, but still conducted the worst election in history of Nigeria. Buhari, you will forever be remembered as the worst president Nigeria ever had. Peter Obi's comment says it's really shocking that he made such statement. Until we put an end to all these bad leaders in Nigeria, it will be the same story. Sensei Kanda says, spent a better part of 15 years contesting to be president, finally got in and realized he had no clear vision of what he wants to do. The only clear vision he had was, I want to be president. Emile Ocon 1.0. Yemi Webmaster says he was only partially truthful. He delivered change, but not the type he promised. And of course, Oluwadara Simi says, at Mbuari, have you left Nigeria better than you met it? The answer is no. You have plunged further into poverty, hunger, insecurity, debt, rascality, impunity, and unemployment. This is what you did, sir. Yednu Duma says, Muhammad Buhari is the worst president in the history of Nigeria, so clueless and visionless, and lacking the character and competence of a 21st century leader. Well, that's all on the show this morning. Buhari getting some stick, Wike being cut down to size by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I'll see you tomorrow on Friday. Do it to stay on the safe side of the law. But I'll leave you with this video of a father and his son. And the question we're asking you, which you can reply to on all our social media handles, tagging the video, is what would you do if you were the father? It was supposed to be a moment of glory, a moment of sweetness. But the child, in his childishness, tried to truncate that. My name is Emmanuel Ojadikele, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.